All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Miles with Moms podcast.
Welcome.
Yay!
Yay.
So this is one of our bonus episodes, and we are so excited because we have Sandra. Um, can How do you say your last name? Is it Mikulic?
Mikulic. Yes, that's the Canadian
Okay,
version.
perfect.
Nice. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we are being joined by Sandra Mikulic. So I'm Olivia.
I'm Trisha.
And I'm
And then
Sandra.
this is Sandra. Yes. Yay. So, welcome to Miles with Moms podcast. We are a podcast that is for moms who run by moms who run. Our goal with this podcast is for mother runners everywhere to just never have to feel alone, never have to run alone. And we have these big life struggles, mom struggles, and we're all in our own journey. And so we just want to take the time to acknowledge everybody that's out there accomplishing big goals or small goals, because guess what? Taking time to take care of yourself is not only okay, it is awesome. So, for the lessons that you're teaching your kids, we are here to shout them out. And on this pod, you'll hear us talk about real or even ridiculous things that are going on in our lives. So, this is just a fun bonus episode where we are going to ask Sandra some questions because she is amazing. And yeah, so let's roll right into Sandra. Do you want to just tell us how your journey started? Like from the beginning.
Okay. Wow. So I was not a run. I can't tell you the last time that I had run prior to my 40s. So I think high school maybe. And I had always worked out in some kind of way, like maybe, on the Stairmaster or doing weights. But it wasn't until I was 43, I bought a treadmill, put it in my basement, and I started warming up on the treadmill to do my regular workouts. And then I started spending more and more time on the treadmill because I figured out that actually I can watch shows on there on my tablet. So I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And then I created an Instagram page. This was all like 2017. And the more and more time I spent on the treadmill, it was about 6 months, and I finally went outside for my first run in March of 2018, and I had just turned 43. And I went out for a 3.5 mile, so about a 7 kilometer run, and about 4 mile run. And I came back, and I think that I had completely transcended. Like, I came back a different person. That was the first time since high school that I had run outside by myself on the trails and actually
Amazing.
intentionally ran. And that was it. I came back
Wow.
to my house. I looked up some races, local races. We have something called MEC in Canada, and it's equivalent to REI. And so in 2018, MEC had this package deal where you could sign up for 5 races for $75. And they were community races in the city that I live in. And that was it. I signed up for those. 2 of them were half marathons. And that year in 2018, I think I did 3 half marathons, a bunch of 10Ks, and my first Seattle marathon. Painfully, very, very painfully.
So it wasn't even like, most people would be like, oh, I kind of like to run. I'm going to do a couple 5Ks. You're like, I'm going to go all in.
Oh yeah,
Right to the halves, I love it.
yeah. There was no
Wow.
hesitation. I think most runners, and I shouldn't speak for most people, but I think we live on the edge a little bit, and we are an all or nothing
Yes.
breed. And maybe there's something in
Absolutely.
those gels that we use that could contribute to this all or nothing type of behavior.
Right.
And there
Something
could be
illegal.
something, yeah. There could be something in the foam of the sneakers that evaporates into our feet and then anyway.
So it makes us a little crazy.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't doubt it.
Seeps into the brain cells.
Yeah. And so as
Amazing.
I spent more and more time on Instagram, and I had just created it that year, I started seeing, because as you curate your feed, you kind of curate to what you're looking for. It's crazy. It's almost like the algorithm knows, am I looking for DIY stuff, or am I looking for how to lose weight, or am I looking, and for me it was running. So I saw everything and everyone that was related to running, and there was this word being thrown around called a streak. And I was like, oh, so for some reason I don't know how I actually found them, but again, it's the algorithm gods. And it was a married couple who lived in Australia, and they had been doing, by that time in 2018, they were on day, I want to say like 300 and something of their 5-kilometer daily streak. And I didn't like the definition of a streak by Runner's World, because it was a run, like a mandatory run every day. And I was like, well, after I do a marathon, I'm not going to want to run even 1 mile the next day, but I can walk. So on January 1st, 2019, I started my 5K daily streak, and I have still kept it to this day. But it's my version of a streak,
Oh my God.
which is a 5-kilometer run or walk. So today I walked because I want to save my feet. Tomorrow, obviously, it's not going to be 5K, so it's a minimum 5K. Tomorrow, it's going to be a marathon. But Monday, it's
Oh
going to
my
be a
goodness.
recovery walk. And even that, after I did my 100K, the next day was a 5K recovery walk. So the streak has
Wow.
Amazing.
definitely changed my
And
life.
for those that are listening, real quick, because we did not say, you are from Canada, but you're currently in Seattle in your hotel room because you are running the Seattle Marathon tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
And this was your first marathon also, right?
My first love. This was my first love.
Yes.
Yes.
I
I was just going to ask.
Yep.
That's so neat.
Yeah, it was.
So this is extra special.
It's extra special. I remember when honestly, I transcended during that marathon, because you are seeking out strength. You are down at the depths of despair, and you are fighting.
Yes.
You are fighting your life, fighting for your life,
Yes.
so that all your guts don't come out, because if you're not trained, and I didn't really train properly for my first marathon. I didn't even use a training plan. I just winged it.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. You're such a badass.
No,
I know.
I don't know if I'd call that a badass, but
It's wild. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I just and you guys have had children before, right? But if it felt like my pelvis was going to fall out, like right when you're at week 38, and you're like, oh, it didn't reach.
Yes.
So it felt like
yes. Oh.
It felt like my pelvis was going to come out. My uterus was going to come out. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And that was
my
due
goodness.
to like not having enough mileage, right? It just
Right.
yeah,
Your body was like, what are you doing?
But it didn't deter me, because it's always been the transcendence that I experience during every long race that keeps me coming back. There's nothing like it, as you know. And when you're out there for 6 hours, because a marathon takes me 6 hours, it's a long time to be in your head. It's a long time to be by yourself, and in essence, you're actually meditating. At that point, it's not even you're running, but you are in a meditation of looking inwards. You're like asking yourself questions like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? Right? This is like a seance, yeah. So it's been incredible. And,
the why am I doing this? That's such a good point. When do you think that sets in for you?
there's that euphoria that kicks in.
Mhm.
I want to say like, mile mile 8 to about mile 16, and then there's the hatred for your life
Mhm.
between mile 16
Mhm.
and mile 25. And then there's the
Yeah.
euphoria again because you realize, wow, what have I done? And Seattle is a very hilly
Mhm.
course. Like there is about
Yes.
Is it?
there's about 1,500 to 1,800 feet of elevation gain.
Oh,
Oh my
wow.
goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very hilly course, but there's just something about if you've ever watched Sleepless in Seattle, there's just something about this city, and you go over 2
Yeah.
bridges and it's so beautiful. Tomorrow
Yeah.
we're expecting to have blue skies, and every year that I've done this marathon, there's been some years that have been rainy, but it's never been horrible. So I highly recommend it if
Yeah.
you ever want to
Oh,
change
that's amazing.
scenery and come up to Seattle. It's such a great, there's the Pike Street Market, and there's so much shopping to do, and it's always after Black Friday, so you got the Black Friday deal.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
incredible.
yeah. There's the
That's
Nordstrom
amazing.
rack over there in Saks on 5th, and yeah,
Oh, yes. So you can continue your streak tomorrow just by
that's
walking
what
around
I do
doing all the
before I
shopping,
drive
right?
home. Yes, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
That is so fun. That's
You
so
know what
neat.
I love? I was looking on your website and you were talking about your first Seattle Marathon, and you said, when you finished, I didn't die, I didn't shit myself, and I didn't quit. And I just love that. I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
The key ingredient.
And now how many marathons have you done now? And
So
you've gotten into ultras as well.
yeah, so this will be my 7th marathon. So I've done one each year
Wow.
since I've started running. So this will be the 7th marathon. A countless number of half marathons. I don't know. I don't remember, and other local races. And then this year, 250. So I did 250Ks, one in 2019 and one last year. Yeah. And
Wow.
then this year I got into 100Ks. So I did 200Ks this year.
Oh my goodness.
Awesome.
The body is just
I love
incredible,
it.
but it's our will. It's the
Mhm.
body is just the vessel. It's our will that is
Mhm.
the incredible part, right? The body just takes us to where our mind wants to go.
Mhm.
It is.
That's
It's
so true.
incredible.
That's a thought I was just thinking about today. We get these ideas in our head of the things that we want to do, but then our body is actually what has to do it. And so making that full connection. And, I've only experienced that up to 26 miles. And so the idea of wanting to do more than that is so wild to me. But your first ultra would have been, if it was in 2019, that was right after you started running. So that's
Yes,
pretty crazy too, that you were just like, I'm going to do a marathon, an ultra, just right off the bat.
that's our behavior, right? Like that's our personality. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and here's the other thing is that a lot of people, like for you, right? You're saying I can't even imagine an ultra because you're only going to 26 miles, but the effort that you put into the current 26 miles that you race is not the same style of running that you would run an ultra
Mhm.
in. Absolutely not. You would
Mhm.
completely deplete your battery. Unless
Mhm.
you're Courtney DeWalter, like, okay, cool. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a different style
Yeah.
of running. It's a running picnic. That's what an ultra is. It's a party in the
Oh,
desert.
running
It's a
picnic.
running picnic.
Yeah.
It's a
I
eating
love it.
contest. It's yeah,
Yes.
it's West, it's an eating contest, and it's it's a completely
So
different
much more
style of
fun.
running. Oh, 100%. Like
Right?
you've got a
That's-
10-pound pack on you that you're not running with
right.
just a belt around your waist, right? And you're not going for just 2.5 hours or 3 hours. You're going for 10 or
Mhm.
12 hours, and again, depending on the distance, but you've got this pack on you, right? That has like a 2-liter bladder in the back, two half liter, sorry, I don't know, 32-ounce bottles here, 2 liters. I don't know what that is in ounces, but like
That's fine. We're not worried.
Yeah. So like you know, 2 Ben and Jerry's here, and then like 17 Ben and Jerry's in the back. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is a
Mhm.
great unit of measurement. I'm
Yeah.
gonna steal that.
Yeah.
Really is.
About the size of a Ben and Jerry.
Yes, right here. And then you're constantly refilling that, right? You've got to have like food for every half hour. So that's a lot of food you're carrying. And then you're carrying what's it called? A first aid kit. So you're carrying a first aid kit. You're carrying an extra pair of underwear in case you shit yourself. You're carrying like paper towels. You're carrying Band-Aids.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
carrying, in some cases, depending on the weather, you've got like a waterproof jacket back here, right? Like it's a walking suitcase.
Yeah.
Like a Sherpa.
You're a Sherpa. You
Yes.
have become one with the Sherpa.
Yes. And I totally agree with. So I did my first ultra this year, a 50K. And then I just paced a friend and he did 150 miles and I did 73 with him.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
I enjoy the ultra community so much more than I ever did the road racing community. You know, I've done 10 road marathons, but there's just something so special about the ultra marathon scene and the euphoria that you feel, you know, in spurts throughout those types of distances.
Yeah.
But afterwards, it just really makes everything so relative, you know, like is that how you felt like after an ultra?
You nailed it. And also like you gotta remember that the time that you spend as you pass another runner in the ultra running community is like very intimate. Whereas when you run a road race, there's no intimacy there. I mean, unless you're back of the pack or middle of the pack, there's very little intimacy. But when you're in an ultra, you are sharing space. There is intimacy there. You are sharing thoughts, your energy. You immediately pick up that other person's energy. And that happens with me when I'm running a marathon because we are slower. We're back of the pack. And I call it a race angel. Every single marathon I've run, I have picked up a race angel and they've picked me up. And that's how I got through the race. There has always been somebody that came along that needed me and I needed them. And, you know, but in ultra running, there is so much time that you sometimes will spend with another person, but then there's also all this time because a lot of these trail races are in forests. Actually, all of them are in forests. Some of them are in the desert, like in Phoenix, where you are alone. And so you have to be able to rely on yourself for motivation and for just giving yourself that gratitude of like, hey, I decided to be here. This is such a privilege. It is such a privilege to be able to run that other people don't have. Many people don't have this privilege, and to be able to go to other cities and enjoy a race. And it's you got to have a bit of gratitude that you carry along in that pack with you.
Absolutely.
That's so true. I love that. I love that. Do you ever deal with self-doubt then during a race, or
Oh,
are you
God.
do you just know that that's where you're supposed to be at that time?
Oh, when in the first few years of running, our nervous system holds a lot of our past beliefs. So if you have not done the work to rewire your thoughts, old behavior can be repeated, and you will end up where you've always ended up. But if you do the work and the thoughts complement the action that you're taking, then you're going to end up somewhere else new, because you no longer have the old thoughts to accompany you as you. So my old thoughts that I had 6 years ago no longer service me. They no longer serve me, so they can't be my old thoughts. My new thoughts are what I've created over the past 6 years, and those are the new thoughts that are carrying me through these races. So when I was in Phoenix
Mm-hmm.
at running the Javelina, my mantra was, you were made to do this. You were made to
Yes.
do this.
Mm.
You are supposed to be here. You were born to do this. And I remember, I heard the little kid's voice. I was, yeah, it's so cute. I remember in the first year of my streak, that's where all of the nervous system work was happening, because anytime you try and change a habit, your body will work overtime. And anytime you try and change a thought pattern, your nervous system will work overtime to try and pull you back down, because that's dangerous. It's very dangerous
Sure.
for you to have these
Mm-hmm.
new thoughts and these new inspiring ideas. So,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens to a lot of people is sadly they don't get over that hurdle of that work, and so they fall
Mm-hmm.
back into old patterns, right? So those thoughts that you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about took me a long time, but it happened. Like, it happened, and I no longer have I no longer have
That's
Amazing.
thoughts.
amazing.
Yeah,
Neuroplasticity.
that's right.
Neuroplasticity at its finest
Neuroplasticity.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it takes
Yes.
a long time to
Amazing.
realize, right? It's, you know, it's
Right. Just those
very
repeating those patterns and thoughts.
it's very grueling, and a lot of people don't understand that
Mm-hmm.
it takes years. Like, it literally takes years, because what have you been doing for the last 40 something years? You've had
Mm-hmm.
old thoughts, but those old thoughts no longer serve you. So why do people expect that they're going to change a habit in 21 days or 90 days? That's absurd.
Yeah,
Give yourself
that's
a
so true.
break. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
It
I
really
think
is.
there's so many people just look for like that quick fix though,
Mhm.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like they just want the answers, and you know, like as if one little thing can will
Yeah.
change so quickly, but sometimes one little thing can lead into a lot of big changes. It's just the practice of it. Just like we get out there and we practice running at faster paces, we practice running at slower paces and all that stuff. It's the same thing with positive thoughts, with, you know, deleting self-doubt, things like that. It's, you have to continue to practice it. But yeah, a 21-day fix just doesn't happen like that. But
Yeah.
it's a great place to start.
It sure is a great place to start. You're right. And you know, I wish more people knew that it is a great place to start, but that's not where you finish.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so
We're
true.
like layers of an onion. There's so many layers, because once you
Oh,
finish with
yes.
one layer, oh
So many
look,
layers.
something else pops up. Oh, you've worked on that. Well, let me bring you back this guy from the past, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Right.
That's so true.
So how
So
many children do you have?
4.
You're a
that
mother
was
as well.
exactly what I was just gonna ask.
Were you?
4.
Yeah, 4.
You have
Yep.
4. Wow. How old?
My oldest is 24 and 22 and 18 and 16. 3 boys and a girl.
Wow. Oh, that's so
Wow.
fun.
Yeah.
That's so
So I
neat.
started
So
running when they were quite a bit older, like not
mhm.
not too old, because I've been running for 7 years. So the 16-year-old was 9, you know, and so on and so forth. But yeah, so I was quite lucky, because I can, you know, Shanna runs and she has, I don't know how old your kids are, but, and you, Olivia, look quite young, but
Mhm.
you know, I don't know how Shanna does it with like a 2-year-old. So I was fortunate that my kids they didn't
Yeah.
really, you know, they just needed to make sure there was food there, and then I could go out and do my
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
That's
They
so
can
great.
survive.
And that's what a lot of moms, I think, you know, don't realize, is that they don't give themselves enough grace to
Mhm.
forgive
Amen.
themselves, in the sense of like, it's gonna happen. It doesn't have to happen now.
Mhm.
You can change your life at 40 or 43. You don't you know, like, if you can, great, do it. If you have a support system, do it. But like,
Mhm.
running is always going to be there. Running is that best friend that is always waiting on the sidelines for you. And even if you haven't seen
Mhm.
them in months and years, it's still the same best friend waiting for you there. It's like you've never You know, that's what I call running, like that old best friend.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
That's so true. I could not agree more. That is so great. Do your kids have any desire to run with you or do a race with you?
So, my two oldest used to play,
Mhm.
they're now in their 20s, but they used to play a higher level of soccer. And then there's a 4-year gap between the two older ones and the two younger ones. And then the two younger ones, the youngest plays football, high school football, and then the third one kind of, he's off to
Mhm.
university now, so he's not even at home. But my
Mm.
kids that are at home will go for hikes with me, and they will go for a run with
Oh,
me, or
nice.
some combination. Like, they do their own thing, but I know they're watching.
Mhm.
And my
Yes.
daughter is quite,
Always.
yeah, they're always watching. They pick up on stuff, and that's it. That's all I want. That's all I want, is I
Yeah.
want them to know that later on in life, whatever happens, the solution is always look inwards and
Mhm.
console yourself by completing something, right? Console yourself
Mhm.
inwards by doing something for yourself. Don't look outwards
Mhm.
when you're trying to console yourself or console your life. Look inwards, find the solution inside yourself.
That's
Amazing.
so great. I love that.
And you,
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, clearly just from what you've said to us, like you're so amazing and so inspiring, and you've gone on to not only start this run streak and even go on to start your own magazine, but you have created such an incredible group of people just on Instagram that you support and that support you. I mean, you have how many followers now on Instagram?
I think it's 102,000.
Oh my goodness.
It's
That's
incredible.
so
I
neat.
mean,
Yeah.
like you've just really touched so many lives in the process of
Yeah.
finding yourself and pushing
Yeah.
yourself. That, like, how does that make you feel?
I as a kid, I was always kind of, my mom wished that I was a smaller body, like a smaller framed woman, right? And that probably stuck with me for a very long time because I wasn't as small as she wanted me to be. And in my culture, they equate women who are smaller framed to being more prone to getting married or being more successful. And I was always big boned. So working through all of that, my whole life, it probably took its toll. And I think um, that's where that now kind of, not pressure on myself, but like the I want to prove to myself that I don't need to be a smaller frame, that I can still do all of the things
Mhm.
that no, not at my own pace, at my own speed,
Mhm.
but I can still do some things and more. And I don't want
Right.
to let my body or the size of my body or the weight of my body prevent me from doing those things. I don't want to sit on the sideline waiting to be in a smaller body. And I think that that's the message that I've always wanted to give other women, because I put myself in other women's shoes where I was the big girl sitting on the sidelines before, wishing I had a smaller body. It's like, no, the only thing you need is courage. You don't need a smaller body because
Yeah.
there's a lot of women in smaller bodies that are still unhappy. So that's not the solution. And I've been in a smaller body before I was
Yeah.
married and before I had children. That's not the solution. The solution is inwards. The solution is
Yeah.
in all the work that you have
Yeah.
to do inwards. And even if you do lose all the weight, that is still not going to fix all your problems. The problems were always right here.
Mhm.
Preach, sister.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to take like that whole audio clip and like put it on a big speaker because I love that so much because there's just no reason for anybody to have to wait on the sidelines to do what they want to do until you're smaller, faster, skinnier and all these things. Like it's just like the time is going to pass. Like time will go away, you know what I
It
mean?
sure
And
will.
so
The years
I
don't wait for
yeah.
anybody. And
Yeah.
what I wish people knew is that confidence is not taught. You cannot teach
Mm-hmm.
confidence. You have to feel confidence. And the only way to feel
Yeah.
confidence is to actually do the thing. And there's this book called The Body Keeps Score, which I have said this quote in a number of podcasts because it's a quote that I've lived by. And the book is called The Body Keeps Score, and it's by Dr. Bessel van der Kelk. Bessel or Vessel. Anyways, the book is a really famous, has a really famous title, so anybody can find it. But the quote that changed my life is, use your body to have visceral experiences that contradict the helplessness and rage you feel. So if you use your body and take the actions necessary to prove back to your body that I, in fact, can do this, your body will feel that. Hence, your body will start trusting you. And when your body starts to trust you, there are no longer negative self-talk. There is only negative self-talk when there is self-doubt. But the only way to kill self-doubt is to take action to show the body, hey, we are safe. We've done this before. We can do it again.
Yeah.
I
Oh, I
love it.
love that. That's amazing. So your daughter is 16?
No, my
Is
daughter's
that
22. My
okay?
son,
So your
yeah,
daughter's 22.
yeah,
So, well, those are still super formative years. When you would have started running, she would have been what, like teenager.
yeah,
So
yeah.
do you feel like when you started transforming, did you notice any changes in how even she might, or things that she might have picked up on or been able to perceive in herself? Do you feel like that's something that you could, you still want to talk to her about? Or do you feel like she catches on because of how you talk to yourself, that she will in turn talk to herself the same way?
I'm really glad you asked that question because I think, um, so my daughter looks nothing like me in the sense of my body size. She was actually a model before. She's
Oh
5'11"
my goodness.
and 120 pounds and did not get my genes. However, the um the the trauma that she went through in high school was unbelievable because she was so thin. And so she was
Mm,
traumatized by her peers. And she has an incredible body. And I have never talked about my weight in front of any of my kids. I have never restricted food for them. We have as much food as they want, and garbage or not garbage or junk food or whatever. But
mhm.
she still has issues. And she still had some sort of body dysmorphia. And I believe it's all from
Oh,
the internet and social media
definitely.
and whatever. So I
Yeah.
feel like and what's crazy is, I don't know how old your children are, but what's crazy is when I listen to her, and she's only 22, so she's still in that phase of like figuring life out. She's not as wise as, you know, I am
Hmm.
or we are, or and
Right.
I hear a lot of like, I can't. And I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, what do you mean? Like, why are you using that word? That's an awful word to use. Your body is
Hmm.
listening to you. And
Hmm.
you're,
Okay.
and even if it's not even about running, it's not even about running. She does like yoga and Pilates and she's very fit. But it's
Hmm.
more about like, if you say, I can't, you're actually going to believe that. Please don't say that. And even my sons,
Hmm.
or when they come up with something that they are like frustrated with, and I'm like, so the way I parent is so different from the way my parents parent because we
Hmm.
we came from Croatia to Canada in 1981. So I wasn't born in Canada. So my parents are immigrants and they didn't speak a word of English, didn't have any formal
Hmm.
education, and so they were very overprotective, and they were very yeah, overprotective, and just, set in very old, primitive ways, let's just say. So my parenting style is different from theirs, but when you have done all this work on yourself, and I don't say that lightly, I mean, like, there were many nights where I was crying at 10:30 p.m. at night, walking through the streets of my neighborhood and asking myself, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this
Mhm.
5K still? But that's growth. That's
Yeah.
that's growing
Yeah.
pains. I don't know if any of you have seen the
Mhm.
show Growing Pains, but it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
truly, yeah, it's truly growing pains. And you have to go through that. But
Mhm.
you cannot take it lightly when you start to say things to yourself. And I, never believed anybody when they would say this, like, what you say you believe. And I say that to my
Mhm.
kids. That's, going back to your question, I say that to my kids, like, what you say you believe. So be careful what you say,
Mhm.
because it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
awkward, right?
Oh, yeah. And I always correct people when they tell me I can't. I always
Mhm.
add, I can't yet.
That's right.
Like, because then it's like, okay, if you
Yeah.
work hard enough at anything, you can do it. You just have to keep at it, keep going.
That's so
And
true.
I love,
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I feel like I could listen to you all day because you're just so positive. And do you feel like that, like, this has just become, like, you've become this positive, really, force throughout your running journey? Or, like, how do you,
You know,
what has been the biggest
honestly, it's very strange going through this journey, and I'm sure you'll be able to relate in some way, because there's a flip side to this, right? And ignorance is bliss, right? So,
Mhm.
right?
yes, it's wonderful to be on this journey, but
Mhm.
I still have to be part of society, in the sense, and
Mhm.
society is not healed. Like,
Right.
Mm-mm.
so
No.
in actuality, it's actually very difficult. And I feel sometimes very alone, because I feel that a lot of people
Mhm.
don't get me, and I've lost some friends
Yeah.
along the way, which is fine. And I remember my mom used to say, because when I was younger, I'd always want to be busy, or even like in my 20s and 30s, it's like busy, 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 busy. I
Mhm.
want to have people over. I want to do this. I want to have that. And now it's like, I don't think anybody's been to my house in 5 years, and that's the way I want to keep it, because I don't want
Yeah.
people. I don't want to. My day job, I work as a financial advisor at a bank, and I am with people all day long. And then,
Mm.
when you're on Instagram, you're doing your thing, and it's like, I have never been
Mhm.
happier when I'm alone, because then you
Yeah.
don't have to, then you don't, unless you have a great core of friends. And, you know, actually, not, I have one friend that kind of runs with me, but I don't run with anybody. I run with,
Oh, wow.
yeah, no, I don't. I'll
Yeah.
run every now and then with somebody, but
Mhm.
85% of my runs are by myself. And then when I was training for the 100K, 95% of that training was by myself. So I spent a lot of time with myself.
Wow.
And you got to talk
Mhm.
to yourself, because you can't listen to like that many
Mhm.
podcasts. And, there's like,
Right.
so it's,
Yeah.
when you ask about, it's wonderful being inspiring to people. It really is. And I get such incredible messages from people, and there's nothing that makes me happier to have been part of somebody's, when they found the light, when they found the
Mhm.
joy, when they found their sneakers and they put them on, because that's the biggest hurdle. Like, the biggest hurdle is putting your sneakers on and getting yourself out the door. That's a win.
Mhm.
Um,
It is. Yeah.
but sometimes,
Yeah.
and when I go on these trips and when I go to these races, that's when I find my people, because we're all there for a
Yeah.
reason, and we all have the same reason to be there. So
Yeah.
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 And I think
That's
that's what's
the
been so wonderful about, like, even starting this podcast and having
yeah.
this whole, like, mother runner community, is because it's hard to find like-minded people a lot of the
Mhm.
time. And I'm the same as you. I mean, 98% of my runs are alone. And that,
Mhm.
quite frankly, I like it that way because it is like time
Yeah.
to reflect and like look inward, you know.
Mhm.
And then
you
it makes
like
the runs that are with
yourself.
people extra fun.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's why I was saying, like, the more work you do on yourself, the more you realize that you like yourself that much more, and that you are
Mhm.
you're your best company. But that wasn't always the case, because in my younger
Mhm.
years, I was chasing after people, and I wanted to be with other people because I needed them to fulfill me. And now
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
taken a step back, and it's, even after events like this where I'm volunteering, I need downtime, and I need to be by myself. It's
Mhm.
so weird how that happens, right? Like you kind of,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a revolving door. You're like, oh, okay, I'm now on this side of the door, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's protecting your peace, and
Yes.
I feel that way all the time. I sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm protecting my peace a lot. Like I feel like I'm like, I'm not seeing anybody in a while, just my
Oh,
kids.
is this
But at the
happening?
same time, yeah, it's like think there's such a balance with it though, and especially when I have there's things to catch up on, or like when you are working on yourself, like those runs, it should be peaceful, it should be meditative, and it shouldn't always be like a grind to get out there. And so it should be your time. Like that's why we do it,
Mhm.
is because it is for ourselves. And you've come on such a journey with it all. It makes sense that that's something that you do by yourself, and that you talk to yourself so much. You wouldn't have had all this evolution if it wouldn't have been for
Yeah.
you protecting your peace with it. So I think that's incredible. Oh, there's my little one. So sorry, I have a
No, don't
2-year-old,
be
so
sorry. Oh my
she
gosh.
doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't. I'm doing my part. Don't close it, okay?
So when you started running, you kind of just like dove in and you were winging it, like hence with the first marathon. Do you follow a specific training plan now, or have a coach, or
I don't have
how
a
do you
coach.
approach?
I don't have a coach. The what I No, thank you. Room service. So
Oh,
yeah.
I'd be like, yes, please.
I know. Yeah.
Here, you can say hi. Here's-
Hey. Hey.
Okay, we're just talking, okay?
Oh my gosh. So cute.
Such a cutie.
Okay,
The
where were we? We were talking about coaches.
Yeah.
Is that what we were talking about? Okay.
What's really, I don't know if this has happened to any of you, but because I had to work on my self-worth. This is very strange. So in the first 4 years of running, I almost felt jinxed to follow anything on paper because I didn't believe in myself. I had a pattern, I had a history of quitting things, hence why I needed the streak. After the first year of the streak, the second year that I started it, my body was like, I don't think so. We're not gonna let you do this. No, I'm not. It's amazing. It is amazing
Wow.
how this nervous system talks to you, right? In the second year, it's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
oh, in the first year, it's like, you're not gonna finish this. You're a quitter. You're not finishing this. Well, you're never gonna finish 365 days. And then in the second year, it was like, okay, listen. Okay, you want to do the 5K a day? Okay, but you're not a real runner because you only do 5K. Like, this is the kind of stuff that was in my brain. And what was I talking about? What was your question?
Oh yeah. Exactly how our brains work. I was, yeah. I was asking you if you follow a training
Okay.
plan or. I'm like, oh shit! What did I ask?
Oh my God, this is happening more and more. I'm gonna be, this is
You're in a
crazy.
safe space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a precursor to what's going to happen in my 50s, because this happened. Yeah. So, training plan. So first year, second year, third year marathon, I did not use a training plan because I was too afraid that I would actually quit. So I winged it. Year 4, no,
Wow.
year five, I saw somebody else who I follow on Instagram, and she was like, I'm using a training plan. And year 5, that was the first year I used a 20-week marathon training plan. I kid you not.
Wow.
Amazing.
I bought one of those like magnet calendars that goes on the fridge. I wrote down
Yeah.
week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and I would cross it off, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Because I honestly couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was more proud in year 5 of following a 20-week marathon training plan than I was the marathon itself here in Seattle. Year 6,
That's awesome.
that's so when you asked about do I use so now that I believe in myself, I like when I ran Zion in Utah, there was a Ashley Ash Kicken. She
Mhm.
was
Oh, yeah.
she created the 20-week ultra training plan for all of us, which was phenomenal. And I used that, where it incorporated, like, even in one day there was 3 runs on at 3 different times in the day. And so
Oh,
now
wow.
if I have a race,
Wow.
yeah. So based on like multi-day or stage races,
Smart.
it was very different from the marathon training plan, but now I can use a training plan. Whereas before, I was like, okay, I should do probably like 20 miles, 18 miles,
Mhm.
sometime about 4 to 5 weeks before the marathon, I'll be fine. No. And it's just incredible it is incredible how we as humans uh, can self-destruct if we want to, but it's incredible how we can also flourish
Mhm.
if we want to. We have full control of our capabilities and full control of our potential, because I
Mhm.
self-destructed for many years, and then I took control, and I am flourishing, for me personally. Everybody flourishes differently, but it's incredible how
Oh yeah.
we have the driver's seat, the driver's wheel. We really do.
Yep.
I
Absolutely.
love
Yeah.
it.
I love
Oh,
that. That's so
I'm
amazing.
proud of you. I'm
Thank
proud of you for
you.
getting to where you are. You're welcome.
Oh man.
That is incredible. So you have this magazine.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about how, like, why you started it, what it's about, and kind of your journey to that, and like what it does for you and for others?
Yeah,
Because
you bet.
it's incredible.
So when in the very beginning of this whole journey, I was buying Runner's World magazine like everybody else, right? And I'd quickly scroll to the back of the magazine and be like, okay, where's the weight loss story, right? Like, the weight loss story was always for me the most interesting part of the magazine. Um,
Hmm.
but apart from that, I didn't see anybody ever that remotely resembled a normal sized woman, just normal.
Hmm.
I mean, there's elite
Hmm.
athletes, and I know you have to look a certain way to be an elite athlete, and I totally respect that. But I didn't see any normal people. And I worked at a magazine publishing house when I was in my 20s, so I knew how to put together a magazine dummy. And it kind of all happened serendipitously because a friend of mine in Vancouver designed leggings. So she was a graphic designer, and she, for whatever reason, I don't know how this happened, but she created a magazine cover. and I can't remember what.
Wow.
Like, she just randomly created this magazine cover, and I had taken some pictures for her leggings. The leggings were incredible. They were just, she would put like mountain backdrops on the leggings, like on the legs, and she would do different patterns. And so randomly one day
Fun.
she sends me this cover, and I was like, oh my God, I could be the next Oprah. Like, I could,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like, plus
You
size.
kind of are.
I'm like, and so
Canadian Oprah.
a running Oprah.
Yeah.
Running Oprah. Yes.
And that's literally how it happened. I love magazines. When I was young, I had a shelf that went around the circumference of my bedroom. And so when I started working at 14, my first job, I would after every payday, I would go buy a magazine, YM, Sassy, Mary Claire, right? Cosmo, whatever the magazines were at the
Yeah.
time, I would go buy them. And I had probably, by the time I was 21, I probably had 3,000 issues of magazines in my bedroom. And
Wow.
I just loved magazines. I loved holding it in my hand. And I loved, you know how when you
Yes.
hold a Starbucks, it gives you the feeling that you could accomplish anything, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
Yes.
It gives you the
Yes.
feeling of having your shit together, but even if you don't, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's the feeling that I had when I would hold a magazine in my hand. It's kind of like the feeling that you have when it's January 1st, the start of a new year, and it's a blank canvas in your journal that you know you're never going to use for the rest of the year, but you still have that hope, and that's what's holding you together. And that's why I created the magazine, is I wanted people, when they're holding the magazine, I wanted them to have hope that they're going to find something in the magazine, someone's words, someone's inspiration that's going to inspire them to take the next step. And so the magazine is full of regular contributors, all who wrote their own story, and I just put it together. That's it.
Wow.
Amazing.
I
We'll
love
have
that.
to put the link because you can get the hard copy
Oh,
or a
yeah.
digital copy.
Yes.
Right?
So Canada
We'll
Post right
have to
now
put
has
that
a
in the show
strike.
notes.
So I brought all the American magazines down with me, and I'm mailing them out to my American friends because you guys are not on a strike. Our people are on a strike.
Oh.
Wow.
It is what it is, right? They're fighting for higher wages, and they haven't, what do you do, right?
Oh.
But
Yeah.
luckily, I brought the magazines that were ordered for my friends in the States, so I'll be able to send them their magazine out because it'll be delivered here within the US. So it all worked out.
Oh, perfect. Oh, good. Good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely put the link
Oh,
so
thank
people
you
can
so
look at
much.
the Run Your
Yes.
Life magazine in the show
It's
notes
called
and
Run Your
share.
Life.
It's
Yeah.
called Run Your Life because
Good.
you should be running your own life. And
I
100%.
love that.
it's kind of
Such
a
a good
play on
reminder.
words because the acronyms are REAL, RYL.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cute. I like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So REAL,
I love it.
Run Your Life Runner, Real Runner. There's so many things that I would like to still kind of experiment on and stuff, but there's only so much time in the day. And as you know, it's like it's hard. It's hard. But the magazine is the 6th issue is coming out in January. So issue 6, January. My hope is,
Wow.
so far now I've only done 2 issues a year, and I'm afraid to do a subscription because then I have to stick to the schedule that people have paid for. This way, if I just
Yeah.
this way, if I just announce it, like, I feel like doing one for spring. Okay, let's do one for spring.
I like it.
Guilty, right? But it's and people can order digital or print. Some people like to save the environment. Some people like to have it physically in their hands, right? And I'm one of those people who I like to
Thousands
feel
of
stuff.
magazines in your room.
Yes, yes, yes. Because you never know when you're going to create your mood board. You need 1,000 magazines for that.
I know.
Yeah.
I am too. I love a magazine.
Oh.
You just never know. Like, and also I love going back, like at my grandma's house, that's where I store all of mine. And I love going back even to like 2012 and seeing, what were we looking at back then? And,
Oh, man.
you know,
If you
yeah,
can
I think
ever,
it's so fun.
if you go to an antique store and if you get lucky, there was a lady who I bought this collection of magazines from, and there's a magazine in Canada called Chatelaine magazine. And I have issues from I want to say like 56. Like, wow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Wow.
and the magazine is an I don't know what size that is, but it's an 8.5 by 14. So not an 8.5
Goodness.
by 11, not a traditional magazine size.
It's like a full newspaper.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, so if you ever, think to check out the antique stores, like those magazines from back then with, old recipes and like the
Yeah.
stylish.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
just so
The
beautiful.
styles.
It's art.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
I'm
it's
sure
art,
that's.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like I need to go to an antique store, get a magazine, a Starbucks, and pretend like I
Can
have
you
my shit
imagine?
together.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
queen.
know.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So we're coming up on an hour here, and I know we don't want to take too much of your time as you get ready for your race tomorrow. But
I was
is
gonna
there
nap.
anything?
Oh,
Yeah, no, we don't want to take
sounds
away
It's
from
all
that.
good.
But is there anything else that you want to share, or that you would like to say to anyone that's thinking about starting running, or any words of? Oh, you've already given us so many words of
yeah.
inspiration, but any last things that you would like to share?
Oh, just try. Just try. Like, don't put any expectations on what something should look like, because that's where dreams go to die.
Mhm.
Expectations are where dreams go to die. Expect nothing and just be surprised. The win is
Mm.
in showing up. The win is truly
Mhm.
in showing up. And the journey is the win, because the finish line is 1 second. Literally, you cross the finish line, that's it. But it's the entire journey of what led you to that finish line. That is the piece de resistance.
Mhm.
That is the cream of the crop, not the finish line, which lasts literally 1 second. Just try it,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
love that. I think
Amen.
that's so
I love that
important
too.
because we do have a lot of postpartum moms or
Oh,
currently
well,
pregnant, and
yeah.
they will plan to resume running postpartum or maybe want to start even. And I think that that's just the exact message that we want to send, is just to try it and relieve yourself of the expectations,
That's right.
because especially when, because for you, you started running in your 40s, which is huge. I mean, I think it's so incredible. It's such a win in itself because I talk to my husband about this all the time, and he's like, "Oh, I'm old," and I'm like, like you feel old because you're not moving, you know what I mean? And if you just started moving, and so when he started running, once you start to build on it and believe that you can do it, that's where it all changes. That's just starting and believing that you can do it. That's where it all changes. And I feel like everything you've told us today, it's proof, and it embodies that, and you can share personal stories that is not coming from, people who have run since they were 5 years old. I think I want to hear from people that start later on. I think so it just resonates with so many people.
And even people who start with adversity, right? And
Yeah.
any type of adversity, whether it's pace, whether it's body size, whether it's postpartum,
Mhm.
that's an adversity, because you're not in a typical situation. But we should be encouraging, especially new moms, not just start running, just move.
Mhm.
Don't worry about
Move.
running.
Yes.
Don't worry about
Mhm.
running. Move. Enjoy the action of movement, because if you hate yourself because you can't run, what are the chances that you're going to even try running in 4 years and 5 years with that type of psychological talk? Because you've already trained yourself to say,
Right.
I hate this. This is no, just move.
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
just move.
That is so
Yes.
Push the
true.
stroller. Watch your kid next to you on a
Yes.
bike. Just move and let the expectation of what running should look like later on form itself. And later
Mhm.
on, that expectation will be different, and so on and so
Mhm.
forth. Because I had postpartum. Oh my gosh, I had it like 4 times. And
Oh.
still
Ugh.
I had severe anxiety. I used to think,
Mm.
my husband used to work out of town after I had my last child, and I remember I had such severe anxiety that I couldn't fall asleep properly. And then when I did fall asleep,
Mm.
I used to wonder, because if somebody broke into the house, which kid would I save first? And then I would think, because my parents
Mm.
lived next door to me, I used to have dreams that I couldn't scream loud enough and my dad wouldn't hear me to come and save us from the intruder. So it was awful. But my point is that I've been taking anxiety medicine for 10 years, but that's just what it looks like for me. And
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what something looks like for someone else. And
Mhm.
that's that barrier that I'm trying to break, is that if I
Mhm.
hadn't allowed myself to take that first step at 43, at 250 pounds, then I would never have known what it was like on October 25th to finish my 100-kilometer race with no pacer, no crew, just me and myself. And now, thinking forward, I am already imagining myself finishing a 100-mile race in this body, because now that is what I'm thinking about. But you can't start from 6 years ago. It just starts with one little step. Let it look like whatever it's going to look like.
Oh
I
man,
love
you're gonna
that.
make me cry. That was
No.
beautiful.
Wow.
It's so
Oh,
true though,
that's oh gosh,
I
it
don't
really
mean
is.
to, like, I don't, everything I say I believe. I don't mean to like romanticize it, but it truly is. It truly, you really do fall in love with yourself. I have never
Mhm.
loved myself more than I love myself now, in the sense of like, I love myself because of all the things that I've been able to do. And I remember my mom thought I was insane when I was in my 20s and when I was a teenager. She's like, you have a demon inside you. You need to pray to God. And I was like,
No.
yes, probably, because you've made me angry my whole life. Yes. Yes, I do. And
Oh.
I
Right.
was raised quite religious. Like, I'm a Catholic. But
Ah, same. Yes.
she's like, pray our Father, Hail Mary. And I'm like, no, you need to pray, Mama, because it's all from you. But that's
Oh my
okay, no.
gosh.
But, like,
Oh yeah.
when you fall in love with yourself, that is the only person that you need to fall in love with. Then you love everybody else. And
Mhm.
talking with new moms, I thought there was something wrong with me when I had my kids, because of course I loved them, but I wasn't in love with them, if that makes sense. Like, I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? You know why? It's because I didn't love myself. I didn't
Ah,
love
such a good
myself.
point.
Sure, I gave my kids everything. These kids had everything, top soccer coaches and modeling school and all this shit, but I didn't love myself. So how could I show like the real love that a child needs? And I remember, and it was because of running. I remember, and I was a very different parent with my 2 older kids than my 2 younger kids. And I think that my older kids kind of realized that. They're like, that's not the mom we got.
They're guinea pigs.
You had a different mom than we did. But I just remember one. I just remember I remember the moment. I remember the moment that I looked at my kids and I was like, holy shit, I am in love with them. And to see them, I'm not
Oh,
kidding you. And to see them brings tears to my eyes. And to think about them brings tears to my eyes because I fell in love with them. That's what
Oh,
happened to me. That is the that is the transformation that I went through. It's just I was like, wow. So
it's
wow.
incredible.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And such a good point that you made. And you even made that point earlier when it comes to just your outward appearance. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your size is. If you don't love yourself on the inside, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what changes you make to the outside, it will never matter
Mm-hmm.
unless you love yourself first.
100%.
So many good points.
Mm-hmm.
And other people feel that. And my kids knew. I know my kids knew that. I know my kids knew that I didn't love myself, my younger ones. And I know that they know now that I love myself because
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to treat myself with love and grace and patience I'll never forget last year. Last year in winter, it was like January, February, and you know how we all hibernate? Maybe you guys in Utah don't hibernate because you don't have like proper winter. Are you guys in Utah? You don't have a proper winter, so it's
I'm in
Awesome.
you,
I'm in Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah.
It's like 40 degrees and I'm
Okay.
hibernating today.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, it's like that here in Seattle. It's like I guess 40 Fahrenheit or whatever. And I'll never and I know I'm just talking so much, but I'll never forget this. This was last year, and this again is part of the whole transformation, right? Is you'll notice these moments in this journey where you're like, holy, I just grew. So I stepped on the scale because I was feeling kind of like chunky but funky. I was like, okay, we got some layers going on. Let's see what's happening. Let's step on the scale and let's
Chunky but funky.
stepped on the scale and I was like 270 and I'm like, okay. But my daughter's weight is the circumference of one of my thighs, but that's okay. So she's a 32 25, anyways. She is, because when she went to model, that was her, anyways. So I step on the scale and I was like, whoa. Whew, okay, 270. That's like a whole new league. That's a whole new league. And I said to myself, I was like, okay, we know what happened. We know how we got here. It's okay. You have soothed yourself. That's what I said to myself. I was soothing myself because I had just started a new job at a new bank. I had to learn new systems, new applications to use. And marriage is a funny thing. And, okay.
Isn't it?
I've been with the same man for almost 30 years. And
Oh my. Wow.
Congratulations.
yeah, same baby daddy. Uh, whatever, sometimes. But in this case, if anybody's curious, because I would go to Costco sometime and people would ask me, is that, all the same father? Yes. But, in marriage, sometimes people don't grow at the same level, at the same
Mm-hmm.
pace, or even in the same direction. And you have to soothe yourself. And there are different forms of soothing yourself. My choice of soothing myself is food, bread specifically, and chips. some people's it's cupcakes. I am a more salty creature. Um,
I like salt too.
yeah. I mean, when you're running and you want to take some nutrition with you, like
Mhm.
taking gummies or like jelly beans, that was weird to me because I don't eat those things. I eat like focaccia bread with olive oil and vinegar. Yes, let's go. But like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
candy? So anyways, I just wanted to, I just wanted to point out how that when that happened to me, when I stepped on the scale last year in the winter, when that happened to me, and when I said those words to myself, that to me just proved that I had grown. And so we will come to these crossroads in a journey where it's the non-weight, what's that called? Non-weight victories? No, non-scale
Like
victories?
non-scale
Yes,
victories.
it was a
Yes.
non-scale victory in a
Huge one.
Wow.
in an abstract
Yeah.
way. You can call it whatever, we can call it whatever we want, but to me it was a transformational victory that I could talk myself off the ledge, because prior to that,
It's huge.
I would have gone into a spiral and be like,
Yeah.
you are worthless, you are this, look at you, you're not a runner, blah 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 blah. But just taking those little milestones that you achieve and you can say to yourself, nice job. And then after that, I lost 20
Yeah.
pounds. Not that, it was intentional or anything, but
Amazing.
it was just a moment because I was able to talk myself down.
Right. And you're speaking nicely to yourself and your body is reacting well to that. Like, you said that earlier. When you're not constantly beating yourself up and talking negatively to yourself, your body is nicer to you.
That's right. And that's
Yeah.
even with running, even in a race. How do the elites talk to themselves, or how does somebody who wants to PR talk to themselves? They sure as heck aren't going to be like, you're worthless, you're going to come in last, blah blah blah. No, they're like, yes, I got this, I put the training in, I am doing this is amazing, look at these legs, they're like getting me through this race, my mind is a Boeing 747, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that's going to get you through it.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Oh,
for sharing everything that you have with us.
I know, Sandra, I'm all about mindset, and I just feel like you've tapped into it more than I could ever imagine to. And like, I just love being able to hear, your journey and your side of it. It's just been so incredible. And I'm so excited for you to race Seattle tomorrow. That's going to be so
I
exciting.
know. Good luck.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's wonderful
I'm
being back
stalking you
here.
for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful being back here and having, the privilege of being here and a healthy body and
Yeah.
and it's a privilege being on your podcast. Thank you so much for sharing the space with me. And, if anybody has any questions, or even if we've helped one person who was listening to this and they now have a tool that they can take away from this, then our job is done. And it's just like fulfilling,
Yeah, definitely. We'll link your account and everything so that if anybody wants to reach out to you or
Oh,
connect
no
with you,
problem.
that they'll have access to you. I think that would be incredible. So,
You betcha. Thank
yeah.
you so much. And I
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the time we spent together today. So thank you.
I feel
did
so
too.
good
So
right now. I feel like I know. I love doing these interviews, and I just cuz it's so nice to connect with people that I don't know that are in the same community, It just feels so good.
I agree. And I hope to see you guys one day out on the trails, because the sky
Yeah.
Yes.
the sky is
Yes.
the
Yes.
limit for us. My
It
next
really
That's
is.
so
And
true.
the
Yeah.
100 miler, that's happening this year for
100
you?
miles, baby. That I'm
Yeah.
coming for.
Wow.
I
That's my
want
goal
that
too.
big buckle, because I got a little
Oh my
buckle.
gosh.
I need a big
The
buckle
big buckle.
The
so I
big
can go in
buckle.
Oh.
like to work and be like, hey, Look at this big
Yeah, look at this buckle.
Check out my buckle.
I love it.
Great.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Well, Sandra, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You have a good nap.
I sure will.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I can't wait to share the podcast with everybody in my community. So thank you again.
Oh, we appreciate it so
Thank
much.
you.
All
Okay,
right.
have a wonderful rest of your
And-
weekend.
You too.
You too.
Okay. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.